Just because you got your birthday cake. Okay. Go on.
Okay, finally, we're ready to start.
Are we ready to start? Are you sure? Is it recording? Can you see us?
Are we not supposed to show there?
No, we're not.
But they switch off so that you don't look.
Because I wanted to know.
No. You look at me. You look at me. I get
Mic
what's
check.
your camera, our camera,
Yes.
my camera. So, okay. You'll tell us when to start. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us on another episode of the Good Gather podcast. Today, I have got a guest who's got an interesting story to tell us. Very interesting topic. Wonderful stories that she's going to share with us. And it's usually a topic that most of us don't know. We don't think it's important, nor do we consider it as an important topic in our lives. I've got a friend of the podcast. She is no stranger, Baba Lokhu. Today, not only is she coming on as a friend of the podcast, but she is coming on in her career capacity as an attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Kotana, tell us about yourself.
Thank you for having me again.
Again, yes.
Yeah, it feels like home now. So I'm Lokhu, as you would know. I'm an attorney and a director at Kotana Babalo Incorporated Attorneys, an attorney that is, a law firm that is based in Pretoria Central. We are family law specialists, road accident fund, and labor law. But today, of course, we are
Talking family.
talking family.
Yeah,
Which
we're
is
talking-
my specialty. Yeah.
You're talking family. And the reason why I wanted us to have this conversation is so many people are getting married, right? They don't know that...
So many people are getting married and some people are getting divorced.
Yes. And the divorce rate, I think, is higher than the marriage rate. And I also think people don't realize that once lobola has been paid, that is considered marriage already because it's customary, whether you register it or not. And yes, you do sometimes have to register
True, yeah.
your customary marriage. And once it's registered, it's considered in community of property. What does that mean?
Yeah. So a lot of people, they would go and pay lobola. And I've had a lot of cases where people say, we're not married, we just paid lobola. And I'll be like, well, you are married.
You're
sir."
married.
Because customary law is a type of law that is recognized in the country. It stands, it has its own act. So marriages that are done or concluded under customary law are recognized as civil marriages, right? So if you go and you pay the lobola, if they charge you 100,000 for a lobola and then you pay, let's say 25 or half of it, you are married. Whether you didn't finish, you are married, and you are married in community of property. That means that your assets that you came into the marriage with and whatever assets you're going to accumulate during the marriage, they belong to the both of you, right? It also means there is no property transfer without the other party. It means there is no will that can be done by an individual without the other party. So it's important that when people have paid the lobola, they go and register the marriage, right? So that in case anything happens, if there's a divorce or one of you passes on, at least you have your certificate that shows that you were married to this person.
So now I've got a question.
Yeah.
My partner pays lobola for me.
Okay.
Unfortunate things happen, we break up. And he carries on with his life and he meets someone else and pays lobola for her. What rights do I have?
First of all, you can act crazy there and say, I want 50% of that lobola money that was paid to that lady because it's assets of the marriage.
So him and I are still married. As much as
and it's not a joke. You are still married to that person. He cannot take any assets out of this marriage without your consent and go and use them elsewhere.
But we're broken up.
Then you must go and get a divorce.
An actual divorce.
Yes. You must go get an actual divorce because even if he, and also that marriage is not valid because even if he passes on, you are the person that must go to the master and get the letter of executorship.
But we didn't register the lobola
Doesn't
process.
matter. the negotiations happened. There is letters that were written in terms of our customs. There was a letter there, that letter where they list the things that they want
yes.
and who was there to negotiate. That will stand as your certificate if you did not register. So you can take that as the first wife that broke up with this man and take it there and say, I was married to this person. These are the affidavits of the statements of the people that were there. It shows that we were married and we never got divorced. So whatever other marriage that comes after this one, it's not a valid, it's not a valid marriage. So people must get divorced.
So now, how does this tembu process then work?
Yeah.
Because tembu is now a customary marriage.
Yes, it's a customary
right?
marriage.
Yes. So how does that then feature in all of this? Because all of these women are this man's wives, right? In a polygamous sense.
I'm going to make an example that a lot of people at home would probably be familiar with, the Mseleku situation.
Yes.
There was a time where uNkulunkulu had to go to court
Yes.
to change the marriage regime. Yeah. Now, if you want isithembu, you can't be married, you can't have a civil marriage first. So you must have a customary marriage. Then when you are done with taking the wives, then you go and have a civil marriage.
With all of them or just one?
With just one. The one will be closing up, will be closing the gates now to say, I've married all of those people customarily, which is in community property. But now if I want to finish or close this whole thing that I'm doing, I have to go and then get married, civil marriage. And then it means after that, I cannot now go and marry somebody else because it means I would have to dissolve this marriage or change the regime so that I can take somebody else with customary marriage. So that's how it works. You can take all the wives, but obviously with customary law, you have to get the consent, or at least there has to be an acknowledgement from the other wife that, okay, somebody else is coming in. I'm taking another person. Especially the first wife, like the consultation has to happen. She has to give the consent so that the other women can come in. And then when you're done, you can just do your civil marriage and you're done.
So speaking of a dissolution of marriage, right?
Yeah.
There's a divorce and then there's an annulment. Yeah. What's the difference between getting divorced and getting annulled?
So when you divorce, you're married. You're married properly, like normal marriage. And then you go and get a divorce, you go to court, you apply for a divorce, you serve your spouse, and you get a court date, and the court divorces you. When you now want to nullify your marriage, for example, you meet someone and you are married maybe 2 months, 3 months. So now you apply for an annulment. That says it is as though the marriage did not
never
happen.
exist. Okay.
Yes, it never existed because maybe you found out something that you felt like, no, I can't, I cannot continue the marriage, and the marriage only existed for 2 months or a month or 3 months. Now you cannot now be seen as somebody that is divorced.
Kim Kardashian and her marriage for 75 days.
Honey, stop.
So that marriage was annulled.
Yes.
Okay, so then it's
and also then an annulment means that there is no sharing of assets. Like the marriage didn't happen.
It didn't exist. It was just never a thing.
Yes.
Speaking of marriages, I want us to also go into marriage contracts because as Christians, right?
Yeah.
We are taught, you leave to cleave, right? Yeah. So everything is, you become one. Yeah. Right. And we still perpetuate that notion that even with your assets, you become one. That if you have a different marriage contract other than in community of property, you're planning to get divorced or you don't really love your person, or what do these marriage contract means? Because obviously there's in community of property. There's out of community of property with accrual. Yeah. There's out of community of property without accrual. Yeah. So what do these things mean?
Yeah. And, I understand the feeling of the Christian community about marriage in communal property as a way of, it's like a stamp that we are not going to separate. But are we really not going to separate? And if we want to be realistic, we now have to check at the footprint, like what has happened in the past. People have divorced. Christians have divorced. Pastors have divorced. It happens. people that work in this industry, we have seen it. We don't need to be there. It's not a tale. It's something that we've seen. So it does happen. I feel for me, and maybe because I'm an attorney, I have this type of an opinion that it's a bit unrealistic to say nothing is going to happen, right? I'm never going to leave. You want it with your heart, but things happen, and life is life. For me, it is better to be secured than to then be sorry later. I always say it is better to be married out of community of property without the accrual system, but live in community of property. Because what is this big deal about being married in community of property? If you are saying till death do us part, can't you do till death do us part while you are married out of community of property? Now, the only thing that I feel is important when you are out is to secure the assets. You marry out of community of property, you get into the marriage with your assets, with my assets, we grow the marriage, right? We build each other. You are building yourself, I'm building myself. We are buying properties. We are securing these properties. If anything happens with you, with your business, or whatever it is that is happening with your creditors, it does not affect me because we are married out and out of the accrual system. If we are divorcing, it also doesn't affect anyone. If really I am...
But we've bought properties together.
That's what I'm saying. Don't buy properties together. Don't buy properties together. Like, if you want, you can. Because even now, while you're not married, you can still buy property with someone. But the thing is now, it's the contract. The contract of the union, it's so clear. Like, it stipulates how things are going to happen, when what happens, like the events are there. It is clear. So if you are married out of community property without the accrual system, then it means your prenup contract is going to be very clear on how do we buy properties, when, what happens, who pays for this, who does, if we divorce, what is going to happen to those assets. I feel like having a prenup contract gives somebody such a clear understanding of the union that they're getting themselves into. It's like you're going in there with your eyes opened. You have planned for the future, meaning nothing is going to happen that will surprise you.
Okay.
As against when you're married in commercial property.
So now I have a will.
Yeah.
Right. And my partner and I are married out of community of property without the accrual system.
Yes.
And I think we need to go back there and tell our audience what the difference is between in and out. Yeah. So I have a will, but in my will, I bequeath everything to my partner. But then the marriage contract says everything that I own is mine. And I think when you die, those things go to your closest next of kin, which could be my children or my parents.
So you are married out of
community without
the accrual
accrual.
system.
But my will says, should I pass away, my husband gets my assets.
Okay.
Yes.
So the contract itself, it has to state what is going to happen to your assets. So in your scenario, what is the contract saying? The prenup contract.
The prenup contract.
So the prenup contract has to say, if I have a house, if I come into the marriage with a house, what is going to happen to the house when I die? It has to be in the prenup contract.
Has to be.
It has to be.
So it's not like you get married and then you create this will and the will makes the marriage contract null and void.
No. So the will
and the contract
it has to marry.
Okay.
Unless you want to change something, then it means now you have to go and do a totally different application and now have to rearrange and change your things. Wow. But your contract is going to run. It's like a constitution that it's in place like forever unless you change it. So you can't have one thing in the contract and have one thing in the will.
Oh,
right.
I see.
Unless then you guys sit down and say, okay, now let's scrap out everything. It's almost like we're starting over. We're changing our marriage regime. This is what we're doing. And this is how the contract is going to, the will is going to be drawn. And then you draw a contract that is going to speak to the union that you are in. Because then those are the type of things that will then cause conflicts. If it's like having one will saying one thing and then having a trust deed saying one thing. If they don't marry each other, then it becomes a bit
a
complicated.
problem. Oh, there's so many points
Yeah.
that you have brought up that I want to touch on. But speaking on estate planning,
Yeah.
right? Most of us, sikhula kwa gogo, probably our moms never left Gogo's house.
Yeah.
Gogo's house was my great-grandmother's house. Gogo lived there and had her children, and her children started having their children.
in the
And then
house.
ugogo passes away, the matriarch of the family. Ugogo passes away. Umamkulu comes and says, Gugitila. What happens? Because there's no will, right? It's just known as the family house.
Yeah.
But there's no will, right? And Umamkulu comes, she's like, Gugitila, and I want to sell this property.
Umamkulu is like the firstborn of
Yes,
Gogo.
the firstborn of Ugogo.
Gogo, yeah.
Yes.
So we as African people, families, we don't take the whole thing of wills seriously.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing because it does break up families. It causes people to fight a lot. People lose their lives because of fighting for properties, right? Because we lacking to do something very basic like a will, and having a will done is very cheap, you know. But now in a situation where Gogo dies without a will, then that means that we are now moving into interstate succession. So now we have to now say, Gogo has died. How many children does Gogo have? Gogo has 4 kids, right? It means that the 4 kids have equal rights in the estate of Ugogo, the house. So there is no firstborn or lastborn boy child, or it used to be like that to say the firstborn child is the one that is going to, or the boy child. Now all of those things have been scrapped out. All children receive equal rights and share over the estate. It means the estate will have to be divided in 4 and each person will have theirs. It's either you sell the property, you share the money, or you decide that you're going to stay in the property and you're going to divide the property if it is big enough, and then each person gets their square meters of the property and they remain owners of the square meters. But that would mean also you have to determine what must be done with the share. If you're not selling your share of the property and the others are also there, it means that nobody else is gonna sell the share of the property because it's in the same yard, but different people are owning that. That is something that people can do. There is no any other person like a brother or whatever that can come and try and claim from Ugogo's assets except for Ugogo's children. If one child has died or died before Gogo dies, it means that person's children will get the share of the fourth child, right? If their children also die, it means their children get it. There's no thing of okay, the fourth child has died, so it means we're gonna share also.
It's divided in 3.
No,
It's now divided amongst the 4th children's.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It goes down. It goes down according to the generation of the person that was supposed to inherit that property.
Ooh, this is a lot. Taking it back to the marriage contracts, right? And what kind of protections they offer you.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand the type of protections this offers you. So, and I said I wanted us to speak about with accrual or without accrual when signing a prenup. So my husband, let's say, we've been married for 3 years.
Yeah.
He came into the marriage, no children. I come into the marriage, no children. He goes and has an accident, right? We'll call it an accident.
Okay. Oh,
And-
that accident.
And he gets somebody else pregnant,
Yeah.
right? He knows what he did. He acknowledges the child, but doesn't tell me, right? In secret, he's supporting this child without my knowledge,
Okay.
right? Without my knowledge, he's supporting this child. And he loses his job, or unfortunately, he passes away. The mother of the child says, hey, my child is entitled, right, to whatever. Or let's say first that he loses his job, right? And obviously the father has been paying maintenance. And quickly, one day I wake up, I've got a garnishee order on
your
my name, on my pay slip. Now I'm paying child support and maintenance to a child engayaz. How does that work?
It's unfortunate that those things happen. I think married men, you really need to try and use a condom. I know it's hard, but you need to try it. Try it because what? We're laughing about it, but it is painful for a married woman to wake up one day on top of having been disappointed by this man and being hurt by this man. Now there's a child who now affects her directly. But it's unfortunate that when you are married in communal property, the assets are joined. When we say joined, we don't pick which one is joined, and when it is joined, it is just joined.
Your salary,
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, everything is joined. So when you say you shall become one, it means the problems become one. Yes, unfortunately, and you will have to pay. You will have to support that child if your husband can't support the child. Because, the courts are the custodians of minor children. And in everything that happens between the parents or between whoever adults, the children will never be made to suffer because of decisions made by adults. So the courts will highly likely, try to look at the best interest of the child. If the best interest of the child says, well, he's married in communal property, it means there is income that is coming in. So in that income, let's look at what they do, and then let's see how much the child can get, and then the child will get that money.
So, and if I am married to my husband out of community of property with accrual, am I still obligated to pay this child support?
You may still be, because in community, out of community property, with the accrual system means that you get in with your assets.
Oh, so it's my premarital assets that are safe,
Yes.
not my post-marital assets. Yes. So I am still obligated to pay for this child because I'm in this union, and what I have accrued, earned, also
The money forms part of
my husband's estate as well.
Yes,
Jesus.
so they might have to do like calculations to see like who has more or who has less.
Yeah.
But you will have to pay something. Like you would have to pay something because you are in community of property in some type of way.
Sure. Okay. Yo, guys, I'm getting... I'm a hot flashes.
That's why I'm saying, like, for me, I feel like out and out, it's just much more better.
It's safer.
Because it's safer because each person is doing whatever they're doing with their money. Now, there has to be obviously a bit of consulting here and there, but it's just a bit safer with these types of accidents and all of these things that happen in the marriage.
Because people also don't know that you inherit your spouse's debt as well. You
do.
inherit whether they're still dead or alive.
Yeah, you do.
He takes out $500,000 in a loan for this lavish wedding. You don't know.
You don't know. You're thinking, oh, my man paid 100K cash, honey.
And you don't know, this is all debt.
That's, yes.
So as soon as you get married, that debt becomes yours. And should he be unable to service
it will
that
affect
debt,
you.
it will affect you.
And then you end up now, it's almost like you paid for your own lobola, you paid for your own wedding, you paid for your own everything, so we really need to check finances before we settle down with people. We need to know where are they standing, where are you getting the money to pay the lobola, where are you getting, I hear you saying you're going to cover everything, but where is the money coming from? Because if now I find that you made a loan of 500,000 so that you can give me this wedding, we might as well not have done it.
So there's also another interesting thing when it comes to children.
Yeah.
My partner meets me. I've got a little 2-year-old. He comes into our lives and this child is now 15, 16 years old. The partner and I get married, obviously raises this child as his own, right? This child has only ever known him as the father. My man did not legally adopt the child, but loved the child as his own, takes care, and does everything that a father does for a child. It so happens that in the child's teenage years, I pass away.
Okay.
Right? I pass away.
Yeah.
Why? I'm not saying why as if it's confirmed, but it's just been a trend that I've seen.
Yeah.
That the court will look for the child's surviving biological parent, who's a complete stranger to this child, and send the child to go live with that parent instead of keeping the child with the parent that is not legally or biologically theirs, but raise them due to being married to their, deceased parent. Why is it that the court chooses that the child uzohamba hlala nomakhulu or this estranged mother or estranged father instead of leaving the child with a parent that they
knows.
know?
Yeah. So if it's a minor child, that is a bit unlikely. If the surviving father, who is not the biological father, fights for the child.
Okay.
If the father who has raised the child makes an application and shows the court that I have been taking care of this minor child for 10 years, I have managed to provide this for the child, this is the lifestyle of the child, it is unlikely that the court would want to relocate that child and move them to a village in Eastern Cape, just on the basis that their uncaring, unsupportive biological father has now showed up. It normally doesn't work that way. Unless when the mother died, the father that raised the child decides that, okay, I'm okay. I'm gonna step back.
Yeah.
It's okay now.
Okay,
She's
so
gone.
the court doesn't just simply work on biology and legalities. They also work on the well-being of the child as to who knows the child.
But it means now the father that was staying with the child has to now show the court
Yes,
to an
has to
application,
fight
for the child to say,
Yes.
this is what I'm presenting to this court. And a biological father does not have an automatic right when a child, when he has not been there for a child, when he has
Okay.
not supported the child,
Yeah.
he cannot just show up later on and say,
Mtanam,
it's my child, so I'm taking the child.
it's my son.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way.
So in the case of a divorce, right? I once saw a friend go through a very sad situation where their biological mother abandoned them, right? The father was abusive, whatever. The mom ran away. And it was a complete abandonment. Not that I'm divorcing your father and I'm going to start a new life. It was complete
Just leaving.
detachment, abandonment, not even calling to check on the kids, not even going via family members, how are my kids, but complete abandonment, right? And the father then marries another woman.
Okay.
This woman also does not legally adopt these children, but she raises them as her own, right? She raises them as her own and loves them and takes care of them for years until she also couldn't handle this marriage with this man and she divorces him. The kids were in their teenage years and they wanted to go with the stepmother. She never adopted them, but she raised them. Right? They didn't want to stay with their dad. And they didn't want to live with their biological mother because she had abandoned them, but they wanted to live with the stepmom. It got so bad that auntie osebenza endlini would help the children sneak out to go see the stepmom for a couple of hours and then come home before the dad is back. So in such an instance where you have no legal, because now your legal connection to this child has been dissolved in the divorce. And you're not biologically their parent, but emotionally these kids are attached to you and they love you. What is your recourse as the step parent?
It's unlikely that you would get the kids, especially as far as custody is concerned, unless there can be proof that the kids are being abused by their biological father and stuff like that. But the kids would definitely, like the biological father in that situation, would be the first priority to get those kids. In an instance where kids they want to make their own choices or want to decide where they want to go, That's where then family advocates come in. So the family advocates normally in a divorce would come in to interview the children, to ask questions. They have their own way of doing it, and then after they've done that, they will then make a report, which they will then endorse and give it to the court to say, these are our findings. We have found that these kids, because of A, B, C, D, would be better off staying with this person, or whatever findings they make. The courts will then make their decision based on the findings that are made by these family advocates, because it's their field, it's what they specialize in. So they are working hand in hand with the courts in making these decisions. They are well trusted. So that is how a child can have their voice in, so that their wishes or whatever they want can be heard by the court. Because with the minor kids, they don't get put on stands and all of those things like in front of an open court. But through those family advocates and the children's court, where the setup is more favorable to the kids, they can get out the information that they need. But it's highly unlikely that a stepmom would get full custody of children that don't actually belong. Because also you've been married to this man for 5 years. Why were you not adopting the kids? If really you, because you could have made that application then, and now it would have been easy for you to say, these are my kids legally. So you would then have a right also to take the kids. But if you've been married for that long and you have not done anything, which is why it is important, and I hope when people actually listen to this at home, they get to now make better decisions to say, I'm getting married, I love these kids, let me adopt these kids, so that if anything happens, I don't get separated from the kids. Because it is going to be a very traumatic experience for the children, to be separated from someone that they love. The fact that they have to sneak out like that, it shows that the relationship was very good.
It was very good. It was very good with the stepmom shame, and they had to sneak out, and to see. And this woman, even as they are grown women now, she's still very much a part of their lives. She's still very much a part of their lives.
It would be hard. It's not impossible. I mean, anything can happen in court, but it would be hard if the children are not adopted. So it's better to just adopt them.
Just adopt the children. So now, speaking of that, parents' rights, because obviously if you adopt children, you as the other parent need to give up your parental rights to the child, right? You have to give up your parental rights to the child. But what happens in cases where the mom is bitter, or the father is bitter, and they don't want you in the child's life anymore, and they want you to give up your parental rights? What recourses can that happen? Because we see it all the time, where the father's paying child support and doing everything for the child, but they're not allowed to see the child. And the woman, woman then wants to get married to this new boyfriend because things are nice and rosy, and she wants to force this man to give up his parental rights.
So that the new man can be happy.
Yes, can be happy.
Guys,
what happens in those cases?
Listen to me carefully. If you go through that, that's a criminal offense. So those people can get arrested and they can actually do time, right? There is no mother is allowed to block access of abantwana bakhe, kubaba wengane, the biological father, especially if the biological father wants to have a relationship with those kids. So women need to stop doing this. I know it happens a lot. And sometimes some men feel like they don't have recourse. They feel like we don't know what to do.
Yes.
This woman, I'm paying school fees, I'm buying clothes, I'm doing, but I still can't see my kids. Go and open a case for them. Get them arrested.
What kind of a case now are you?
It's a criminal case. It's a criminal case where you can go to jail for blocking the biological father's access to the children.
So we were not married. We were just dating.
Yes,
we had these kids.
It's a criminal
I
case.
acknowledge these children, birth certificate, everything I can prove.
Yep. It's a criminal case. And it's something that was done recent in the country, because before it will be a civil matter where you have to go and fight back and forth for the custody and fight for your contact to your child and all of that. But now you can also do that. You can go to a criminal court and have that woman tried for blocking access or contact.
Wow. So it is a criminal.
It is. So people need to stop if they don't want
Because
to get criminal records.
a lot of men give up because
They
they
do.
try and they try and they
everything.
give up, and it's uzoncinga one day when they're old
Yeah,
enough to,
then
and
they-
then I'll tell them that the mom.
Yeah. And that now has damaged the child because the child has grown up thinking that
My father
dad
doesn't love
want
me.
me.
Yes.
And yet he has been fighting all this time. Imagine you will have to wait until you are like 17,
18
or
years
18
old.
until and the time has been lost. The man himself has been destroyed by the fact that he can't have the relationship with the child. The child has been destroyed thinking that my father doesn't love me. And you know, especially with but both with boys, but especially with girl kids, if their father is not there, they will move from one relationship to another, trying to
yes.
find
That
something,
validation
you know,
or that
because
love
they
of a
feel like
man.
they're not whole because this man that was supposed to have been my first love decided to leave. And you as a mother, you are sitting there happy in your relationship and you have caused your child to suffer. And I think that is not right.
Sure. And I'm so glad that you've actually said that it's a criminal case.
Yeah.
It's a criminal case because you hear a lot of women, and we're not attacking women, but it's usually majority of women who say that mina kushuthi nengane yami akayifuni. And that is not
sis,
not
you are the
true.
one that is not.
You are the problem.
You are the problem. You
Not
know?
the child.
You are the problem. And I feel like we as people need to like find a way to just talk and resolve issues without necessarily inserting ourselves in the shoes of our kids. You know, I'm a single mom. You know, my story with my child and the father of my child, there's never been a time where I was like, he's not going to see him or he's not going to, you know. I've always opened the door. Even though our relationship didn't work, I've always opened the door.
Because it's got nothing to do
Because
with
it's not
you.
me, it's them. I'm not in that relationship. I am a part of it, but I'm not in that relationship. And it's important for them to try and grow that and make it work.
So, and also, a lot of women then become shocked when the kids then find their fathers and they hear
Then
the
they
father's version of the story. And now they are angry at their mothers for keeping them away from their fathers. And it's like a shocker all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's like, why would my child...
I've done
everything
for you.
It's like that one thing that you were supposed to do, you
You
didn't do.
And that was the most important thing. You get what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Let me create my own idea of my
who my
father,
father is.
not what you told me that my father is.
Because also my father, if I'm the child, treated you that way because of the experience that the two of you had. So give me my own experience so that then I can judge for myself if really this is the type of person that he is. Yeah.
You know, so I'm hoping ladies and some of the gents, because
Yeah.
gents also use children.
Children, they do.
Yes, they use the children to get to the mother.
Yeah.
I hope, you know, you guys are listening and you are learning a few things here, because it's, yes, you are hurt, right? You are hurt as the parent that the marriage ended, the relationship failed, but you can't take that hurt out on the children. You can't want to be a group in pain now together with innocent children.
True.
You know, that have, you know, done nothing and don't know what the history is.
Yeah.
I want to just, before we end off soon, because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, but there's so much, there's so much. I also want us to go to when one party passes away and there was no will, but there was also obviously a marriage contract in place. And the parents now come, "Sifuni into zomntanethu, into zomntanami. I want my brother's cars."
Yes,
You know,
yo, abo sister.
I want my
brother,
brother's, my brother.
Ubhuti wami engakuthandi nokukuthanda. Please. Your brother married me, honey.
Kade thanda uma wey'ngane
Yazile
zakhe.
bethanda uma wengane. They play too much.
So what happens in that situation where family really feels entitled to their son's assets or their daughter's assets. Like to go as so far as you killed our child, you poisoned our child.
Yeah.
And this happens whether it's the girl's parents or
the
or
gentleman.
the man's parents. So what happens there? Like, and even as far as fighting for the corpse, because sihlale Goliti, my husband is from Limpopo somewhere, and his family is like, no, we're going to bury him in Limpopo.
Yeah. I'm going to, first, before I even answer that, I'm going to advise people at home, get family lawyers, get lawyers, so that when these things happen, you have people that can quickly jump, right? Because some of the things can be very complicated and very traumatic, that if the guy maybe dies in Limpopo when he was in Limpopo, and then the family decides we are not coming to Joburg with the body, and then they decide to bury it, you're still busy trying to run around, and then you hear that in the morning the burial happened. Now you have to now go and make an application so that you can now resume the body and then start the process over. But if you have an attorney, they can quickly jump in and, do an urgent application and stop whatever they need to stop and make sure that they take the body and do what needs to be done. So it is important to get lawyers. But going back to your question, if there is a marriage contract in place, there is no family that can come in and try to claim anything if the marriage contract is clear on what must happen. So the marriage contract, like I said, is like a constitution that governs your marriage. It's a contract that prepares you for the future. Everything that is going to happen in the future, it has to be in that contract. Everything that you can think of has to be in that contract. And then this means that you would have had what happens to the assets when one person passes on, right? You would also maybe have to have a will if the two of you agree on that. You have your will that will say, but your will obviously must marry whatever it is that is what is in the contract that you've had, so that if in an instance where you pass on, nobody can come and try to claim things when there is a contract in place. There is no one that can jump the contract and say no. I know families will say the signature was faked. This is not what. And there's specialists as well to prove people's signatures, whether their signatures to authenticate whether the signatures are real or not. So all of these things are in place, but it just makes it easier when you have an attorney that can assist you with how these things can be done in cases where families come and try to fight whatever it is that was written by the deceased person. If you are married in communal property and your spouse passes on, you and your children only, if there was no will, you and your children have the right to the assets of the person who is deceased. You get your 50% share, the children get their share, and then you also get the child's share if you are married in communal property. And that is how the estate will be dissolved. If there is a will, it will be dissolved in terms of the will. Now, when you are married in communal property, the will has to be a joint will, which will then stipulate how the administration of the assets is going to go and the management of the assets. If you are married out of communal property, obviously the will be separated. Each person will have their own will. If you are married out of communal property with the accrual system, you must have a will that is joint, but obviously it's just going to be slightly different from out and out where you are just doing your own thing. The assets, it will be clear that just like when you're coming in the marriage with the accrual system, you say, I've come in with 50%. I've come in with 50,000. I've come in with 1 million. So all of those things in that will have to be clear to say, we've come in the marriage with this. This is what we have. Whatever we are going to accumulate in the marriage, this is how we are going to divide our things. Yeah.
Because they sometimes do it with children as well, especially if the mom passes away. Yeah. Then the parents come and is like, yeah, we also want the children. The father's still there. He's capable. How does the family court then decide? Because as the mother of the daughter who's passed, she now wants her grandchildren. She wants to take them
from the husband.
Yes, wants to take them from the husband.
It doesn't work that way. Unless there is proof that they can show to say, these children are not supposed to be here because 1, 2, 3. They are not living well. The conditions are not good. He will not be able to maintain them because maybe he's not employed. And we are not going to be able to now send him money to support his kids, but we can keep these kids. We believe that the kids, if they present a good case and also they have a relationship with the kids, because you can't start a relationship with the kids just because your daughter has passed on. But if the relationship was there and these kids would be okay staying with their grandparents, because the father won't be able to sustain them or to maintain them or give them a good life and education, and because there's a lot of things that we have to look at, then the courts, might give the children to the grandparents.
Ooh, this is a lot. It is a lot. And I think it's things that we don't, allow ourselves to actually talk about because they're seen as taboo or bakwenzela bakubo. They might as well, but it breaks you inside. And I also wanted something when we were still talking about having the body moved from one province to the other and things. So, example, my husband married customarily a woman in KZN, in the deep dark corners of KZN somewhere. And he moved to Joburg and washata mina ke manje, civilly.
Yeah.
And he goes home maybe twice a year, makes babies, comes back, but we living our best lives. We are married civilly because that marriage wasn't registered. I know before
when he's
the
going,
act,
when he's going to KZN, he's going to the wife.
he's going to the other wife. So I know this for them to actually recognize the customary marriage of it's 1980 what something. Yes, it was things like that would happen where he has a wife back home that he's customarily married to and has children with, and is support. If he wants to, he sends money. If he doesn't want to, the wife will just see for herself. Like Goli, we've got a nice house, we've got a nice car, we are married, corporate family. I've got my big diamond ring and because I've got the bulk of him, I've got the bulk of his time and assets, whatever. Yeah. So what happens should this man pass away in that instance? Because she was married to him. She didn't register the marriage. She has his kids. She uses his surname. The kids use his surname, but there wasn't a civil marriage. Same thing here, but the difference is I live with him on a full-time basis. I am civilly married to him, and we're married in community of property.
Yeah. So in an instance like that, it means the wife at home is the wife of the deceased.
What am I? Side
You're
chick.
just someone.
So I'm a side chick, guys.
You are somebody who is also important in his life, clearly.
Yeah.
But legally, the wife at home is the one that would now have to get the letter of executorship and administer.
But I worked for all these things, guys. I helped this man with his businesses. I helped with his career.
And you know what's interesting when those things happen? You as the wife in Joburg,
Yes.
you are aware that there's a wife at home.
Yes.
Why are you not trying to make sure that things go proper? Like, why you?
But I didn't know. I just thought because I married him civilly. That's why I'm saying we never have these
Well, now
conversations
you know,
enough.
Joburg wife. you know.
Because I just thought that I married him civilly. Nginamaphepha mina yena akanamaphepha. Mina nginamaphepha, so I'm safe. Yes, ngumfazi wephepha.
No, you're
so
not.
I'm safe.
You're not safe. I mean, if there's your things that you own, that are your things, that is fine. Those things are safe.
But we bought them in the marriage. So my car, yes, it's under my name.
if it's under your name, then you can take it.
But we bought it together.
Okay.
The house is under our name. Statements masipala masfika. Sino Mr. and Mrs. Shabalala.
Yeah.
So is the other Mrs. Shabalala who owns this house too?
She has to come and administer the estate.
Jesus.
She has to come and administer. Yes, she will
Watch
mention
me
your
die
kids.
a slow
She will
death.
your kids will obviously have to be, when she reports the passing, will have to be mentioned there because all the biological kids have the right to do that. But she is the main person that will then have to administer the estate
So,
of the
so
husband.
what do I fall as a beneficiary, Jay? Like the side chick story?
You can be
Ukuthi-
a dependent of
Yes,
the
a dependent
husband.
of the
And you
husband.
don't walk away empty-handed. You know, you walk away with something.
Consolation prize.
Akufani. Akufani ukuthi you walk away with nothing. But the main thing is that, unfortunately, the man did not divorce the first wife. So the first wife is the wife of this person. So that's why it's important that if you know that your man has a wife at home, what's happening? What makes this even worse is that obviously he's been going home. He's been going home. He's been making babies. He's married to that person. So that is the person that is going to take the first preference. And she's the one that will get the letter of executorship, and she's going to administer the estate of your husband. You will get what you can get. The kids will get what is rightfully theirs.
I want to ask something before time is up.
Yeah.
I marry this man. He has these kids, whether before me or during the marriage. But I'm failing to understand ukuthi how these kids are like him, or how are these kids his. For some reason, you know, you as women, we get the sixth sense, man. Something is not right.
That's not right.
And you've read on Reddit and in other platforms where I took my husband's kids for a DNA test, and the kids are not his.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what legal recourse does my husband have now against me? I have proven ukuthi these kids are not his. I took the kids to get DNA testing without his consent.
Yeah.
And it comes out that they're not his children. So, but now I tell my husband, now he's upset at me.
Yeah.
Other than divorcing me now for ruining his life. Because me, I'm thinking, oh, he's going to thank me.
Yeah.
You know?
So he can get a compensation, like a monetary compensation against the biological father and yourself if he wants to include you, which would not make sense because your assets, like your money, is the family money. But if he wants recourse, he can get a compensation from the father if he can show on paper what he has done, how much he has spent on those kids. The biological father then would be ordered to compensate him.
And the woman who lied and said the kids are his.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that he can, if he wants compensation from both biological parents. But
yes.
now thinking that they're married and their assets are joint, it won't make sense for him to say you need to also pay.
Because women do that as well, right? Uguti, I am married and I want to have children, but it's clearly my husband has the problem here. And, you know, in our culture, men having fertility issues is not a conversation that's had.
That we want to have.
So it's put on the woman. I get a side guy. I have babies by him.
It's better to involve the family. Back in the days, it was done like that. It was a cultural thing that was a norm. But it's better to be safe and get the family involved, the family of the husband. You know, to have a sit down, have an open conversation about this. And let's try and get the baby. We can get the baby from the uncle, or we can get the baby from the brother, as long as we are getting the baby in the family. And if it is a thing of growing the family, then let's take that route instead of lying. Ingane yasekhaya. Isiphongo siyasibona.
Nekhala nanti.
Let's get the family growing, but let's have an open conversation about it, because it is not something that is foreign to our African culture. So let's just have when you lie to your husband and you go and sleep with some random person, and then no.
Guys, we will end it there for today. I think you should come back.
I should.
There's so many questions.
I should. I think there's so much that we did not cover.
Yes, there's a lot that we didn't cover, and I think you should come back.
Yeah, definitely I will.
For round 2. If you're looking for this lady, ladies and gents, her details are at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
And you can follow her on her socials. We have everything listed just right down here below. You guys, please like, subscribe, and share the content if you care. And if you want to educate other people, this is the best way and the best platform. I also really enjoy reading your comments. So whatever comments that you have, I'll pass on the questions, and I will try as hard as I can to answer those questions with the help of my lovely lady.
Yes, ma'am.
Here.
Yes,
Friend,
ma'am.
where do
Thank you so
people
much.
find you?
Well, I admin@kbiattennis.co.za, admin@kbiattennis.co.za. That is a direct email to my office. Or they can find us on Facebook as well. We are Bawala Kotana Incorporated Tennis on Facebook, KBI Tennis as well on TikTok. Yeah.
And on Instagram?
On Instagram, Kotana Babalwa Incorporated Tennis.
Okay, great. So, guys, you've heard those details. We definitely will be keeping them on our screens below. You guys will be able to contact them for queries, questions, and some help. But thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate having you on the show today. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
There's so much we need to cover. We didn't cover the trust.
That
We
time.
didn't cover trust.
You covered